We live in a world addicted to stimulation. Fast food, fast pleasure, fast escape. But what happens when you say no? No to the cravings. No to the noise. No to the distractions. Most people think abstinence is a punishment. But what if it's a doorway? Carl Jung once said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will rule your life. And sometimes the only way to hear the unconscious is to go silent. Not outside, but within. Abstinence isn't about denying yourself. It's about finally meeting yourself. And that is the truth nobody tells you. Every morning you open your eyes and you're immediately drowning. Drowning in notifications. Drowning in demands. Drowning in the constant voice inside your head that screams, do more, feel more, achieve more, consume more. You think this is normal. You think this is living. But here's what Carl Jung understood that most people never will: we're not living. We're just reacting. Like lab rats in a maze, pressing buttons for the next hit of dopamine, the next distraction, the next temporary fix. Your phone buzzes. You check it. Your mind wanders. You feed it. You feel empty. You fill it with more noise. Jung said it perfectly: people will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul. And in our modern world, we've made that avoidance an art form. But what if I told you that the noise you don't notice is the very thing that's stealing your life? What if the constant stimulation isn't making you more alive, but more dead inside? The first step to freedom isn't adding more to your life. It's subtracting. It's learning to hear the silence between the noise. We live in a culture that worships excess. You only live once, they say. Life's too short, they whisper. Treat yourself, they command. And so we do. We binge watch until our eyes burn. We scroll until our thumbs ache. We eat until we're sick. We buy until we're broke. We party until we're empty. This is the religion of our time: more is more. Faster is better. Instant is everything. But here's the paradox that nobody talks about: the more we consume, the hungrier we become. The more we stimulate ourselves, the more numb we feel. The more we try to fill the void, the bigger it grows. I've seen billionaires who own everything and feel like they have nothing. I've met celebrities who are loved by millions and feel completely alone. I've known pleasure seekers who've tasted every delight and still wake up empty. Because here's what Carl Jung knew: external abundance can create internal poverty. When you never say no to anything, you never say yes to yourself. The culture of overindulgence isn't making us happy. It's making us addicted. Addicted to the next hit, the next high, the next escape from the very life we're trying to live. And the antidote? It's not what you think. When you hear the word abstinence, what comes to mind? Punishment? Deprivation? Religious extremism? That's exactly the problem. We've been conditioned to see abstinence as taking something away. But Jung understood it differently. He saw it as making space. Abstinence isn't about becoming a monk. It's not about denying every pleasure or living like a hermit. It's about something far more revolutionary. It's about choosing consciousness over numbness. Think of your mind like a cluttered room. Every stimulation, every distraction, every constant input is like throwing another piece of junk into that room. Eventually, you can't even move. You can't think clearly. You can't find what you're looking for. Abstinence is the art of cleaning house, of creating space, of saying, I choose clarity over chaos. Try this experiment. Go one day without social media. Just one day. Notice what happens. Do you feel anxious? Bored? Restless? That's not withdrawal from something good. That's your soul trying to speak. Jung called this active imagination, the practice of creating space for your unconscious mind to finally breathe, to finally communicate, to finally heal. Abstinence isn't punishment. It's preparation. Preparation for meeting the person you were before the world told you who to be. Silence terrifies us. And I mean truly terrifies us. We'd rather listen to music we don't like than sit in complete quiet. We'd rather watch shows we don't care about than face an empty evening. We'd rather have meaningless conversations than spend time alone with our thoughts. Why? Because silence feels like death. It feels like emptiness. It feels like nothing. But Jung knew better. He understood that we don't fear silence because it's empty. We fear silence because it's full. Full of everything we've been running from. Full of every emotion we've been avoiding. Full of every truth we've been denying. Silence is like walking into a dark room you've never entered. Your imagination runs wild. You assume there are monsters in there. You assume it's dangerous. So you keep the lights on, keep the noise going, keep running from a room that might just contain your salvation. Here's what happens when you finally step into that silence. At first, it's uncomfortable. Your mind will race. Your body will fidget. You'll want to reach for your phone, turn on the TV, call someone, do anything to escape. But if you stay, if you breathe, if you listen, you'll start to hear something extraordinary. Not monsters. Not emptiness. But a voice. A gentle, ancient voice that's been waiting your entire life for you to finally listen. That voice? It's you. The real you. The you that exists beneath all the noise, all the programming, all the fear. The you that has been waiting to finally come home. When you remove all stimulation, something magical happens. Your mind, desperate for input, starts to talk to itself. At first, it's just chatter. Worry about tomorrow. Regret about yesterday. Random thoughts bouncing around like ping-pong balls. But if you stay present, if you don't judge, if you just listen, the chatter begins to settle. And underneath, you hear something else. Something deeper. Something that sounds familiar. Jung called this the voice of the unconscious. The part of you that holds your dreams, your fears, your deepest wisdom, your authentic self. It's been trying to communicate with you your entire life, but it can't compete with Netflix, Instagram, and the constant mental noise. This voice doesn't shout. It whispers. It doesn't demand. It suggests. It doesn't criticize. It understands. At first, meeting this voice can be scary. Because it might tell you things you don't want to hear. It might reveal that you're living someone else's life. It might show you that your job, your relationship, your entire identity is a costume you've been wearing for so long you forgot it wasn't really you. Jung called this encountering the shadow, the parts of ourselves we've rejected, denied, or hidden away. The shadow contains not just our darkness, but also our light. Our creativity, our passion, our authentic power that we buried because someone told us it wasn't acceptable. Meeting your inner voice isn't always comfortable. But it's necessary. Because until you know who you really are, you'll keep living someone else's life. Here's what no one tells you about abstinence. It hurts. Not physically, but emotionally. When you remove all the distractions, all the numbing mechanisms, all the ways you've been avoiding your inner world, you have to feel everything you've been running from. The loneliness you've been medicating with social media. The anxiety you've been drowning with entertainment. The sadness you've been covering with constant activity. The anger you've been suppressing with food, drinks, shopping, sex, work, whatever your drug of choice has been. This is why most people quit. The pain feels unbearable. They think something's wrong. They think they're broken. So they reach for the old familiar escapes. But Jung understood something profound. This pain isn't a sign that abstinence is harmful. This pain is the healing process itself. Think of it like surgery. When a surgeon removes a tumor, there's pain. There's bleeding. There's recovery time. But that pain isn't evidence that the surgery was wrong. That pain is evidence that the healing has begun. Every emotion you feel during abstinence is an emotion that was already there, festering underneath, creating anxiety, depression, and that vague sense that something's missing. Abstinence doesn't create these feelings. It just reveals them. So they can finally be processed, integrated, and healed. The pain of abstinence is temporary. But the pain of living unconsciously, that's permanent. And that's the pain that slowly kills your soul. Something extraordinary happens when you push through the initial discomfort of abstinence. The constant craving starts to fade. The desperate need for stimulation begins to quiet. And in that space, something new emerges, clarity. For the first time in years, maybe decades, your mind becomes still. Like a lake after a storm when the water finally stops churning and you can see all the way to the bottom. You start to see your life clearly. The relationships that drain you. The activities that waste your time. The beliefs that limit you. The fears that control you. But also the dreams you abandoned. The talents you ignored. The path you were meant to walk but somehow lost. Jung called this process individuation, becoming who you truly are rather than who others expect you to be. It's like taking off layers of clothing that were never yours to begin with until you're standing, naked and free, in your authentic self. This clarity is terrifying for some people. Because with clarity comes responsibility. You can't pretend anymore that you don't know what you need to do. You can't blame others for your choices. You can't hide behind busyness or distraction. But for those brave enough to face it, this clarity is liberation. For the first time, you're not reacting to life. You're not being pushed around by impulses and cravings and other people's agendas. You're choosing. Consciously, deliberately, authentically choosing. And that choice? That's where your power lives. Here's something beautiful that happens through abstinence. You discover that you're stronger than your desires. You realize that you don't have to say yes to every craving, every impulse, every demand from your primitive brain. This is revolutionary in a world that tells you the opposite. A world that says you deserve everything you want whenever you want it. A world that profits from your impulsiveness, your inability to delay gratification, your addiction to instant satisfaction. But when you practice saying no to yourself, when you prove that you can sit with discomfort without reaching for an escape, when you demonstrate that you can choose long-term fulfillment over short-term pleasure, something shifts inside you. You stop being a victim of your impulses. You stop being controlled by external circumstances. You stop being dependent on other people's approval, other people's entertainment, other people's validation. Jung understood this deeply. He knew that the person who cannot say no to themselves cannot say yes to their highest potential. The person who is enslaved to their cravings cannot be free to pursue their purpose. This doesn't mean becoming cold or rigid. It means becoming sovereign, master of your own inner kingdom, captain of your own ship, author of your own story. And here's the paradox: when you stop needing external things to make you happy, you can finally enjoy them without being enslaved by them. When you're not dependent on pleasure, pleasure becomes truly pleasurable. When you're not addicted to stimulation, life becomes genuinely stimulating. Freedom isn't getting everything you want. Freedom is wanting what you choose. Carl Jung spent his entire life studying the human psyche. He worked with thousands of patients, analyzed countless dreams, explored the depths of human consciousness. And through all of this, he discovered something that modern psychology often ignores. Healing doesn't come from the outside in. It comes from the inside out. You can't medicate your way to wholeness. You can't buy your way to happiness. You can't entertain your way to fulfillment. You can't even think your way to peace. True healing requires something that our culture finds almost impossible. It requires you to go inward, to face the parts of yourself you've been avoiding, to listen to the voice you've been silencing, to feel the feelings you've been numbing. Jung didn't tell his patients to disconnect from the world forever. He didn't advocate for permanent isolation or extreme asceticism. But he understood that without periods of solitude, silence, and self-reflection, we remain strangers to ourselves. He said it beautifully: your vision becomes clear when you look into your heart. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakens. Abstinence is the practice of looking inside, of creating space for awakening, of giving your soul permission to speak. In our hyper-connected world, this is more important than ever. We have access to infinite information but precious little wisdom. We can communicate with anyone, anywhere, anytime, but we've lost the ability to communicate with ourselves. Jung knew that until you make contact with your inner world, your outer world will always feel hollow, chaotic, and ultimately unsatisfying. But how do I apply this in real life, you might ask? I can't become a hermit. I have responsibilities, relationships, a career. Jung's wisdom isn't about escaping the modern world. It's about navigating it consciously. Start small. Start with what I call micro-abstinences. 10 minutes of silence each morning. 1 day without social media each week. 1 meal eaten without any entertainment, no TV, no phone, no book. Just you and your food and your thoughts. Drive without music sometimes. Walk without podcasts. Sit without scrolling. These tiny acts of abstinence create spaciousness. Room for your inner voice to finally be heard. Try the hour of power, 1 hour each day where you engage in no external stimulation. No inputs, no entertainment, no distractions. Just you, maybe a journal, maybe a cup of tea, and silence. Watch what happens. Notice what comes up. Don't judge it, don't fix it, don't escape from it. Just witness it. This is the beginning of self-awareness. You can also practice emotional abstinence. When you feel the urge to complain, gossip, or react negatively, pause. When you want to defend yourself in an argument, breathe. When you feel the impulse to buy something, eat something, or consume something to change how you feel, wait. These moments of pause create space between stimulus and response. And in that space lives your freedom. The goal isn't to become a perfect person who never indulges. The goal is to become a conscious person who chooses their indulgences deliberately rather than being enslaved by them unconsciously. After weeks or months of practicing abstinence, even in small doses, something remarkable happens. You start to hear a voice that you haven't heard in years. Maybe decades. Maybe ever. It's not the voice of your anxiety, constantly worried about the future. It's not the voice of your regret, obsessing over the past. It's not the voice of your ego, demanding recognition and validation. It's quieter than all of those voices. Gentler. Wiser. It doesn't shout demands or make ultimatums. It simply suggests. Guides. Whispers truths that you somehow already know. This is your soul speaking. Your authentic self. The part of you that exists beyond roles, beyond achievements, beyond other people's expectations. The part of you that remembers who you were before the world told you who you should be. This voice might tell you things that surprise you. It might reveal that you're in the wrong career. It might show you that you've been trying to be someone you're not. It might suggest changes that scare your logical mind but feel deeply true. Jung called this the self, the integrated, whole version of who you are. Not the fragmented person trying to please everyone, but the unified being who knows their purpose, their values, their authentic path. Listening to this voice requires courage, because it might ask you to disappoint people. It might require you to change in ways that make others uncomfortable. It might demand that you finally live your own life instead of the life others want you to live. But here's what Jung understood: until you listen to your soul, you'll never really be alive. You'll just be going through the motions, playing a role, living someone else's script. Your soul has been waiting your entire life for you to finally listen. Abstinence creates the silence necessary to finally hear what it's been trying to tell you. Here's the truth that nobody tells you about abstinence: it doesn't take anything away from you. It gives everything back. It gives you back your time that was stolen by mindless scrolling, endless entertainment, and compulsive consumption. It gives you back your energy that was drained by constant stimulation, emotional reactivity, and living unconsciously. It gives you back your power that was surrendered to advertisers, influencers, and anyone who promised to fill the void inside you. It gives you back your peace that was shattered by information overload, comparison, and the relentless pursuit of more. Most importantly, it gives you back yourself. The real you. The you that exists beneath all the noise, all the programming, all the cultural conditioning. The you that has been waiting patiently, quietly, lovingly for you to come home. Carl Jung spent his life trying to help people understand this one simple truth: you are not broken. You are not lacking. You are not insufficient. You are complete, whole, perfect as you are. But you can't see this truth while you're constantly consuming, constantly distracted, constantly looking outside yourself for validation, entertainment, and fulfillment. Abstinence is the practice of remembering. Remembering who you were before you forgot. Remembering what matters before you got lost in what doesn't. Remembering your power before you gave it away. The world will try to convince you that you need more. More products, more experiences, more stimulation, more everything. But your soul knows better. Your soul knows that you already have everything you need inside you. Abstinence isn't about becoming someone new. It's about becoming yourself again. And that is the most radical act in a world that profits from your unconsciousness. You don't need permission to start. You don't need perfect conditions. You don't need to wait for Monday or next month or next year. You can start right now, in this moment, with one simple choice. Instead of reaching for something outside yourself, reach inward. Instead of consuming, pause. Instead of reacting, respond. Instead of living unconsciously, choose to wake up. The world is loud, but your soul whispers. Have you been listening? Your authentic life is waiting for you. It's been waiting your entire life. All you have to do is create space for it to emerge. The journey back to yourself begins with a single moment of silence. Are you ready to finally come home? Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will rule your life and you will call it fate. Carl Jung. The choice is yours.